The Detroit Pistons are getting Bogdan Bogdanovic for Saben Lee and Kelly Olynyk, and this is a fantastic deal. I really look at Bogdanovic as a guy who can slide it into that 3 or 4, probably the 4 in the starting lineup, and help us get to potentially the play-in. And one issue that I've seen online is everyone bringing up, what's the starting lineup? People are arguing about it, but you shouldn't be arguing because we haven't been in a position in a long time where we can have 4 or 5 different possibilities for who's on the starters and who's on the bench and feel good about it, because there's so many different guys that we can maximize their potential. And this trade kind of makes it even better because now we had another stretch guy that can fit next to Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and space the floor, which is something that we were looking for Isaiah Stewart to do. But with Bogdanovic, that might put a hold on that. And I genuinely hope the Isaiah Stewart to the 4 isn't a dead topic because I really want him to try the power forward. But, I mean, what opportunity is going to have? You have Marvin Bagley, probably is going to play the 4. Defensively, he can't play the 5. You have an Isaiah Livers. Now you have Bogdanovic here. I mean, what are we going to do with Stu at the 4? We need him at the 5. But we even have a logjam at the 5 with Noel. We have Duren, who might need to get some minutes, but he might not even start in the rotation. Noel might not even start. That's the thing, is like we have no idea what the center rotation is going to look like. But even if Bogdanovic comes off the bench, that's not a bad thing because you're pairing him with a Killian Hayes and Alec Burks, a veteran. You're putting him with Isaiah Livers. These are setting up these guys to succeed. And Killian Hayes, I mean, in this bench unit could potentially have Marvin Bagley, Hamidou Diallo, Livers, and Bogdanovic. That's a mix of shooting. That's a mix of defense. That's a mix of lob threats. But we're in a great situation where even if Bogdanovic doesn't start, he's going to finish games for us. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. He can play the 3 or the 4. You can have Stu play the 4 or the 5, whatever you need next to Noel. You can have Stu play the 5. There's so many different combinations here. Killian can finish. Just imagine a lineup of Cade, Ivy, Killian, Bogdanovic, and Stu to finish a game for defense and playmaking, stuff like that. And I just made that up. That's probably not even like that great of a rotation. You can probably make a better defensive one. Probably like Cade, Killian, Burks, Stu, Noel. I mean, Livers in there. I don't even know. Maybe take Killian out. Maybe you take somebody else out. Maybe take Burks out. I mean, there's a lot of different options. I think that's the big thing about this trade is we already didn't know what our rotations were going to be. And I feel like this makes it even more complicated because he's a guy who averaged 18.5 points. I don't see him just sitting on the pine and just being okay with that unless we're going for the play-in. I mean, worst case scenario, all these vets are going to improve their value. So then at the trade deadline, we can just move them for something else. And I don't think that's a bad thing either. And this is my dog, Beef Stew, kind of like the Beef Stew shirt named after Isaiah Stewart. So we got 2 references right here. Say hi, Beef Stew. Yep, there he is. And I've seen a lot of people write us out of being even a play-in contender. They give it a 0% chance. But this Bogdanovic trade, I mean, it's not crazy, but he fits better than Jeremy Grant did. And a lot of people's arguments was Jeremy Grant was a big reason for our surge past the All-Star break. And if Jeremy Grant's gone, we're not going to be good. But Bogdanovic fills that void better than Grant. Even if Grant is the better player for defense, I think that Bogdanovic's offensive capabilities outweigh whatever Grant did, and the fit for this team being that space that doesn't need the ball in his hand. And I've said this on Twitter before, like you look at all these other teams that are tanking. You have the Spurs. I mean, they have some vets, but it's going to be kind of a young person's charge. You look at the Rockets. I don't think they have vets other than Eric Gordon. He's probably going to get moved. You look at the Thunder. Chet got hurt. Plus, they don't have vets other than like Derek Favors if he's still on that team. I don't know why he's still in OKC. But the Pistons have Burks, Noel, and then they just added Bogdanovic. I couldn't even think of the name. This veteran leadership is really kind of what puts us above that tier of teams. So we're kind of fighting for that 10th seed. And honestly, there's going to be some teams in the playoffs that are underachieving, and then they're in the play-in picture and they say, we wouldn't gain anything from this. Like if you look at the Magic, you look at the Pistons, they're gaining something from being in the play-in because their young guys are taking that next step. I mean, every team has done it the first time they make the playoffs. If it's even in the 8th seed, people are like, oh, good for them. Or even in like the bubble when the Suns won that 8 game straight, they didn't lose in the bubble. They really didn't help their draft position, but then that set them up to be a finals team the next year. And that's something that I don't think this Pistons team is going to do, but maybe we can take the next step. And yes, this is a generational draft class, but if we're going to drop to 9, 10, or 11 anyways because of the odds and who we might be better than, more like 6, 7, 8, wouldn't you rather just try to make the play-in, take this step? Because the only way we're making the play-in, y'all, is if our guys take that leap. If Saddiq Bey takes the leap. If Jaden Ivey shows he can take that leap. If Cade can take that leap. If Killian, if Isaiah Livers, if Stu. We have all these guys, and if they all make something happen, I mean, not all of them need to, but if some take bigger leaps, I mean, do we need another top young talent? Like, yes, it's enticing, but the only way we get one of the top odds, but I'm more talking about if we finish as a bottom 3 team, because, I mean, we could finish as the 7th worst team and somehow move up, but I'm saying there's no way we have good odds for a top pick, just because you look at some of these other teams, and I've already talked about it, they don't have that veteran help. And this could all change at the deadline when we start selling everyone for draft picks, but as of now, we are in a good position to fight against the Washingtons, against the New York Knicks, and the Knicks have some talent, but if it can work, if Julius Randle can be what what he was 2 years ago. With Washington, if Beal and Kristaps can stay healthy, if Kuzma can become the guy that a lot of people thought he was going to be. I mean, he had a good year last year, but I need to see him do it again against tougher competition. But overall, you might still think the Pistons won't make the play-in, but you have to at least give it some sort of percent now.